All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth on in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, I want to get right to it. I've got many topics that I want to speak about today, but a major topic that I want to speak about today is even Diddy is entitled to a fair trial. Even Sean Diddy Combs is entitled to a fair trial. I'm going to get into why these high profile cases I think are very dangerous for the justice system, how they can ruin the justice system for the rest of us. And let me start off by saying this. There's several reasons that I've outlined that I'll get into before I get into some other topics here. I don't like profile cases, regardless of what I feel about them or what I feel about the perpetrator, alleged perpetrator, playing out in the media big time. And the reason why is because I believe that you dilute the jury pool. I do believe in fair trials. I don't believe that you can have a fair trial in high profile cases, even if the person I believe is guilty seems guilty. What I feel, what I believe does not matter. That is not our system. Also, I believe that when these high profile cases are played out in the media, you are guilty until proven innocent. Jurors may convict because they're expected to rather than based upon the evidence. You get the societal pressure on the outside. It puts the burden of proof on the defense, not on the prosecution. And that is the way our system is conducted. If there is a smoking gun of some sort, or perhaps you might think there should be a smoking gun, sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. I believe these high profile cases kind of lead people to believe that law cases should be played out the way they're played on, I don't know, LA Law or whatever show is out now that talks about the justice system, that talks about the courthouse, and so I don't like it. I think it's bad, even though based upon things that I've read about Diddy, they seem pretty damning. All right, so I think there's probably a lot there. Nonetheless, I don't like how this is being played out, and I'm probably the only conservative that you'll find that will speak about this. And perhaps that's because I've been in the court system before. And I believe in fair trials. I believe in the rule of law. And even when a person is a complete and utter scumbag, I believe that they're entitled to a fair trial. And these big cases, whether it's O.J. Simpson, whether it's Diddy, whether it's forgive me, the young lady last year or two, sadly, that was murdered by her boyfriend, lived in the Central Florida area. They traveled to Utah, and he ended up murdering her while they were on a hike, and then came back to Florida and took his own life. And forgive me because I forget her name, but it was a huge deal in the news all the time. But even that, even though I suspected he may have been guilty at the time, before we found out that he was, after he left a note and so on, etc. I just think it's completely abominable that we do that. And I think it really, really damages the justice system. And so I do want to talk about that. But before I get to that, listen, there's been a lot of great political news today. With President Trump, with the military in particular. And I think that's where I'd like to start. I want to play a video clip for you. This is Secretary of State uh, Pete Hegseth. Here's what he had to say. If we could go to cut number one, please, Gabe. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. This is what he had to say about the military. You guys may have heard the news that the military is going to be cut down, the four-star generals, by 20%. Actually, hold off for just a second, Gabe, before we play that video. Let me bring you to a story that appeared in Just the News that I think is I think it's a good call. And I'm not a military person, obviously, but I have friends and family that are, and every single one of them likes this call. So hat tip Just the News. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, directed the senior leadership at the Pentagon to reduce the number of four-star generals and admirals by at least 20% as part of his effort to streamline the military. The new Trump administration has been working to cut redundancies in the federal government, reduce wasteful spending. The effort has been spearheaded by Doge under Elon Musk. The memorandum also directed the Pentagon to reduce the number of general officers in the National Guard by a minimum of 20% and the total number of general and flag officers by another 10% this across the services. Now, excuse me. There are approximately 900 general and flag officers in the military. There were 37 four-star generals and admirals in the military in 2023. The Department of Defense is committed to ensuring the lethality. This is Secretary of Defense. I am quoting him at this point of U.S. military forces to deter threats and, when necessary, achieve decisive victory. Secretary of Defense Hegseth then says, quote, to accomplish this mission, we must cultivate exceptional senior leaders who drive innovation and operational excellence, unencumbered by unnecessary bureaucratic layers that hinder their growth and effectiveness. Now, I've interviewed Stuart Scheller. You guys might remember Stuart Scheller. I've asked other military men, career military men, whose names I will not mention. They've spoken. Actually, they mentioned this to me before I ever, thought about it, because obviously I'm not a military guy. But several of them that were high-ranking officials, but didn't, become generals and all that kind of stuff, said, "Listen, I mean, the higher up you go, the more political it becomes, and a lot of these guys aren't in there to benefit the military. They're in there to benefit their own careers, and they become, really political." And I heard that from several different servicemen, actually in different branches of the military, different ranks of the military. And I was like, wow, okay. I didn't know that. One particular gentleman explained to me that there's so much redundancy that exists within the military. One specific branch that he was talking about, he talked about his trip when he was in what was the war with? I believe that was Iraqi freedom with Saddam Hussein, and some of the materials that they had duplications. They had it exponentially. Some things they had like 4 times over, and then the things that they really needed, or many things that they needed, they didn't have at all. And so there was a lack of efficiency that existed within the military. I hadn't heard that before. So I think this is a good thing based upon the men that I've spoken to. I don't want a bunch of woke generals. I don't want people there that are trying to be political and cater to the DC elite. I want people there that want to join the military, to kick butt and take names, to kill people and break stuff. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's what the military is for. I want to take you to video clip number 1 now. This is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Here's what he had to say basically about ending the wokeification inside of the military. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is so important. And this goes back to a conversation that perhaps you've heard me talk about before, but I'll make mention of it again. This was way back in the day when my former Puerto Rican co-host, Mickey Alvarez, I'm not sure if Aubrey Kahn was on the show with me at that point. I don't think he was. I want to have my local Orlando show. But here's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Here's what he had to say about ending different types of wokeism inside of the military. Cut number 1, por favor, Gabe.
No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit.
All right, so what is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth doing? Guys, let me ask you, and Gabe is in my ear. Let me ask you too. I want you guys to harken back to a day when you thought of what a hero was in your mind. What's a hero? Think of the first thing that pops into mind. Gabe, what did you say Wonder Woman? All right, so oh man, good one. Okay, yeah, Gabe says Rambo. All right, so the first thing that pops into my mind when I was a kid, it's the usual. It's a policeman. It's a fireman. All right, it's a honestly, it's a good dad. That's what I was taught to believe, and I do believe that that's true. And look at all of the things that he outlined. No more pronouns. No more climate change obsessions. He says no more emergency vaccine mandates. No more dues in dresses. He's ending all of that stuff. And of course, he used a different word. Now, what is the left? What have they been trying to do? This is something that I've been talking about for literally over a decade. The left has always intentionally tried to create new heroes. They try to demonize real heroes, whether it's defund the cops. Firefighters aren't as important. We know they're important. Military servicemen, trying to make them not so important, and they're not so bright. I remember when John Kerry, when he was running for president, he said something that was so outlandish and demeaning when it came to military, man, so condescending. Basically, the military is where you go when you don't have a brain. I'm paraphrasing. Joe Biden has essentially said some of the same things. So, what these men were trying to do, or what the left was trying to do, is create new types of heroes. Dudes in dresses are now heroes. You come out as LGBTQ, you're a hero. But the guys that serve our country, the guys that will risk their lives for your life, were no longer the heroes. The guys that will lay their lives on the line for you so that you could sleep comfortably at night, so that you could walk safely on the street, are no longer the heroes. You get it? The heroes are now the woke left. Dudes in dresses, people obsessed with climate change, somebody that's willing to use a different pronoun. Those were the heroes. And what Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is saying, those days are over. We're going back to the original heroes. We'll be back. Hey guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the show. We've had some difficulties with Facebook. Basically, we're being censored on Facebook. Let me just be real with you. So if you happen to see this on Facebook, you can click on the link, go to our YouTube channel to watch the live stream programming. We would certainly appreciate that. Also on X, hello. For those of you that are watching out there, YouTube and Rumble, if you're catching us for the first time, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. All right. We would certainly appreciate that. Rate and review. Rumble as well. The same is true there. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. All things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook, at Carl Jackson Show or at the Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. All right. So a major topic that we'll be getting back to, or circling back to, is what happened with Diddy and his trial. I'm going to tell you why these high profile, or try to make the case why these high profile cases are really dangerous for the justice system. So I hope that I can do a good job on that. And if anybody is out there listening, and maybe I'll look this up, I'm trying to find the name of the young lady, sadly, that was murdered in, I think it was Moab. Hiker, excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. I realize this is live, but I'm trying to research for you because I love you guys. Hiker, Moab, murdered by boyfriend. Such a sad case. Ah, Gabby Petito. Okay. All right. All right. Let's. All right. Hello and welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. All right. I'm going to get to the Diddy trial momentarily. I want to give you guys my thoughts on that. I do believe that these high profile cases are destroying our justice system. I don't like it one bit. Even though, guys, I am a law enforcement type of guy, I'm a rule of law type of guy. I do believe in harsh punishments. I also believe in grace when there's opportunity for grace. Carl, how can you believe in harsh punishments and grace? Listen, I do believe that there are some instances where judges can intervene and say, okay, based upon your score. For those of you that don't know, when you get into criminality, you have a score. All right, and based on that score, you can get a more lenient sentence, or judges sometimes can go to the max. Sometimes in some arenas, judges don't have a can't make that decision. It's strictly based upon your score. Now, if you get a woke judge, some of these soft on crime DAs or judges, that you definitely don't want that. But nonetheless, there's times where if a person isn't a violent offender, and you can see that they've been making inroads in their life elsewhere, but that may be a story for maybe a story for another day. But this is some good news. Also, more in the news, we have Prime Minister Carney of Canada join President Trump at the White House today. I think there's going to be a lot of progress on that front. President Trump was clear when he was asked about deal making and the tariffs, and he was clear that, listen, this isn't something that we need to do. These other countries want to be able to sign on with us because essentially these countries need our business or they want our business. But I do believe that if there are going to be any trade deals, we need to get to stepping on this. We need to get to moving on this. Otherwise, we can just move on, make it a non-issue, and I think that'll help the economy soar. Also, I want to play this for you. If we could go to cut number, just real quickly, if we could go to cut number 4, Gabe. This is Harry Enton on CNN. He says that American thinks that Trump is handling crime far better than Joe Biden. I just think this stuff is important because there's a lot of propaganda media out there, a lot of propagandists that are trying to spread fake information. They came out with the fake poll a week or two ago, this Washington Post poll where Trump was down 39 points allegedly, and then you delve into the inner workings of the poll, and you find that what a third of the people that were asked about President Trump and the job that he's doing uh, never voted. I mean, they didn't vote Democrat, they didn't vote Republican, they simply didn't even vote. They didn't even care enough to vote in the last election. So it was a bogus poll that was made up in order to create a narrative. But here is a real narrative. Again, this is Harry Enton on CNN. Cut number 4, please, Gabe.
All right, net approval rating handling crime. What do we have here? We have a positive rating for Donald Trump, even in the most recent polling. Look at that, at plus 2 points. Far better than Joe Biden, who was so far underwater. My goodness, he was setting records at minus 26 points. You rarely ever see it. So Donald Trump ran in part on law and order. It was one of the reasons that he got elected. And at this particular point, Americans like what they're hearing from him on the issue of crime. And you see this right here with a plus 2 net approval rating, far better than Joe Biden left office with back in 2024.
All right. So that was that was Harry Enton, and this is good news. This is why President Trump can continue to make inroads and can continue to do things that are frankly unprecedented, not just within the first 100 days of the United States, but going forward. He still has a lot of wind at his back, and this is a good thing. But Republicans, in my opinion, need to get stuff done. I would still prefer the single bill, one single big beautiful bill at a time. I would love to see tax cuts occur right away. But they want to put it all in a big beautiful bill. That is fine. I am concerned that they're going to put a lot of nonsense in this bill. So we'll have to see where it goes. But that's that. Now, having said that, let me get to this Diddy story, and there's other stuff that I want to play for you. But let me get to this Diddy story because I think this is crucial, and I got more stories that I want to bring to your attention as well. The Houthis have cried uncle. That's a good thing. I'm not satisfied with the Houthis crying uncle. Obviously, after the Ben Gurion airport attack that they had, the Israeli Defense Forces attacked back, doing twofold what they did to their airport to the Houthi rebels, and they cried uncle. They don't want any more bombing. They say they're going to stop bombing. Frankly, I believe that all the Houthis should be wiped off the planet. That's my personal take, but I'm not the president of the United States. So we'll see how this goes. For now, President Trump is going to take them at their word. Okay, so you have Gabby Petito, you have O.J. Simpson. Just think of some of these big trials. And frankly, guys, I'm not arguing innocence or guilt. What I'm arguing is whether or not our judicial system is being jacked up, is being diluted, is being ruined. And I do believe that it is. I don't like the way that a lot of trials play out in the media. And if I'm to be honest, based upon the things that I've heard about Sean Diddy Combs, I mean, he sounds like a despicable human being. I've never been a fan of the guy, but I've never necessarily disliked the guy. I didn't pay much attention. When I was younger, when the Lord saved me, I stopped listening to a lot of the music that I would listen to, a lot of the rap music that I would listen to, a lot of music in general. I just stopped listening to it because so much of it had such a negative connotation. Now there's beautiful music out there, and I'm starting to listen to music again, not just Christian music, but even some secular music with great melodies, lyrics, and so on, etc. They exist out there, and I love it. but there was a period of time that I listened to a lot of West Coast rap, where I listened to a lot of hip hop. And that stuff, I don't care what anybody says, it feeds your mind, it feeds your mentality. And I was big into the West Coast versus East Coast thing. So I didn't really get into Diddy. I hate to let you guys know, but yeah, I was that shallow. That's just a fact. So I didn't really get into him. Although I admit I love the Notorious B.I.G. When he came out, I was like, okay, that's he guy's got an original sound. I really like that. I was big into the Tupac versus Biggie thing, so on, etc. I don't even know if that's necessary for this story, but again, let me go to this. Let me just make my points, and then I want to go through some of the things that we have learned about the upcoming Diddy trial. You guys know that a jury has been, or the trial has begun essentially earlier this week, where they are starting to find a jury for the trial. But my arguments are simply, I don't like when big trials are played out in the media, because I think they impact all of us, because you dilute the jury pool. The jury gets used to, honestly, hearing stuff in the media. I don't know how you, or why bother sequestering jurors anymore. I really don't know why, because with the advent of social media, the smartphones, and I mean, people yapping all day long, I'm not sure that you can sequester juries enough where they don't hear anything. So I think that Sean Diddy Combs, I don't think there's, I'll be frank, I don't think there's any way that he could get a fair trial, whether he deserves it or not. Whether he deserves it or not. And again, based on what I've read, based on what I've heard from others, if what I've read, if what I've heard turns out to be true, this guy is disgusting. This guy is evil. This guy deserves to have the book thrown at him. If this stuff is true. The problem that I have, I shouldn't be reading about this stuff anymore. I shouldn't be hearing about this stuff. Carl, you're being a hypocrite because you're going to, yeah, I'm going to share some. I'm trying to make the point. I'm trying to make the point. But my point is, there's no way he can get a fair trial. Whether he deserves life in prison or not, there's no way he'll get a fair trial. And I believe that you train jurors, you train Americans, that that's the way that a trial should be. So you dilute the jury pool. I believe that rather than until you're proven guilty. But many of these trials get played out in the court of public opinion. And I think that is horrible for our judicial system. Jurors may convict because they're simply expected to. They will cater to peer pressure. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse, I was so shocked that Kyle Rittenhouse, I was happy for him, but I was shocked that he was allowed to walk free, because there was so much pressure put upon the jury, societal pressure. So thank God those people were brave and they did their due diligence. But you can remember the O.J. Simpson trial. One of the jurors later admitted, yeah, I let him go because he was black. He was a black man, and basically she had lived through Jim Crow era. And one of the jurors, and she was like, so basically it's our turn. A black dude kills a white woman, and it was really sick. It was really evil. She knew he was guilty, but she decided not to convict. And I don't think that was just because of her own conviction. She belonged to the black community in LA at that time. And you guys have to remember Rodney King beating, all of this kind of stuff swirling out there. And during those times in LA, lots of racial tension that was stirring up or in the pot, if you will, out there. And so it was just complete and utter chaos. Also, you put the burden of proof on the defense, not the prosecution. And even if Sean Diddy Combs is guilty, the burden of proof lies on the prosecution, because if you're going to send someone away from a long time, you better damn well have the evidence to do so. We'll be back. All right, guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please follow me, all things social media. I'm on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, Facebook right now, I'm being censored on Facebook, just being completely honest with you. So if you happen to pass by this at some point in time on Facebook, please feel free, click the link, check the show out on our YouTube channel, or You're not watching the show live. That's fine. Listen to the podcast, Salem Podcast Network, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you go to get your podcast. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. I would certainly appreciate that. Um, and also, let me talk to you quickly about My Pillow. Listen, Mother's Day is literally right around the corner. So My Pillow is excited to announce that they've extended the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of My Pillow's most popular and newly released items. Right now, you can save $40 on the new spring My Pillow bed sheets. They're available in any size or color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability. They're perfect for a great night's sleep. If you're looking for a meaningful gift, you can serve 30% on the brand new My Crosses. These are the crosses that Mike Lindell, you've seen him wear on TV for 20 years. They're beautifully crafted. They come in both men's and women's designs, and they're made in the USA. You can get the 6-piece bath or kitchen towel set if you prefer that for just $39.98. Initial quantities are low, so you do want to order as quick as you can. And don't forget the best-selling standard My Pillow. It's only $17.98, guys. I guarantee you, if you don't have a My Pillow and you get a My Pillow, you will never use another pillow. It's really, I honestly, God's honest truth. Orders of $75 ship for free. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, or call 800-858-0263. Order now. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, Carl. I don't spell it like the communist, or call 800-858-0263 is the number to call into the program. Okay, so just real quickly, just looking at this news. Oh man, okay. I did not see this. Okay. All right. Welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Appreciate you tuning in to the show. I'm making the case that Sean Diddy Combs, there's no way possible that this man will get a free trial or a fair trial. Whether you like him or not, he may deserve to be behind bars for the rest of his life. He may deserve to walk free. If we're going on some of the things that I've read and heard, I doubt that he'll walk free. My point isn't that. My point is not, I'm not arguing guilt or innocence. I'm arguing whether or not these trials should be played out in the court of public opinion, because I believe they don't just impact that particular person. I believe they impact that it impacts the judicial system as a whole. Just like some of these Law and Order shows. Is it Law and Order? Is that the show, Gabe, Law and Order, that has like a bunch of spin-offs, and there's Law and Order. I believe it's Law and Order. But these shows really do impact people because people expect crime to be solved quickly. They expect a matter of fact proof all the time. Sometimes you get that. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's a smoking gun. Sometimes there is not. I believe that a lot of these trials create, when they're played out in the court of public opinion, before they ever get to the courtroom, you're dealing with people that are going to have a bunch of unrealistic expectations, as opposed to, let's say, Sean Diddy Combs, his house is raided. He's arrested on these charges. After that, we should hear nothing else. The court date is here. All right, they set the jury trial for this date. Here's the court date, and then you hear nothing else until literally these people are in the courtroom fighting to jail him, or fighting to and fighting to free him. That's the way that it should work. Let me give you a synopsis of the story. Hat tip Breitbart. So Sean Diddy Combs, again, once presided like a prince over his white parties in the Hamptons, writes Breitbart, attracting A-list celebrities, gossip columnists, and photographers. And I wonder about that. I'm like, okay, if this stuff is true, gossip columnists, why would you have them there? I would suspect that you would bring a lot of people in on this stuff, so that if they turn against you, you can turn against them. If some of the allegations against Sean Diddy Combs are true, then there's a lot of guilty people, complicit people that were around Sean Diddy Combs. All right. So Basically, the trial started this past Monday. Prosecutors will try to paint Combs as a criminal sexual deviant who exploited his fame to abuse women at gatherings held far out of public view. For over two decades, prosecutors allege that Bad Boy Records founder used the power and prestige he'd gained in building a hip hop empire to destroy young lives. Okay, okay. Let me let me pause here. For over decades, prosecutors allege. Okay, so that means for 2 decades, there was allegedly some serious criminal activity going on with Sean Diddy Combs. No one did anything. No one knew any. If this stuff was so prevalent, and apparently, I mean, it sounds like it was. Why now? Why now? Combs faces an indictment that includes descriptions of freak offs, drugged up orgies, is what they are, in which women were forced to have sex with male sex workers while Combs filmed them, allegedly. You had numerous witnesses that came forward to accuse Combs of terrorizing people into silence by choking them, hitting them, kicking, dragging them, often by the hair, according to prosecutors. Once the indictment alleges that he even dangled someone from a balcony. Allegedly, Suge Knight did that with Vanilla Ice back in the day too. So apparently, that's not necessarily new to the hip hop community. If that is indeed true. Combs' lawyers contend that the prosecutors are trying to police consensual sexual activity. So that is going to be his defense, that everything that he did, these freak offs, whatever they were, this was all consensual. Now, this sounds disgusting. This sounds evil. A bunch of people, tons of baby oil. Apparently, if you're wondering why the price of baby oil skyrocketed, it's probably because Sean Diddy Combs had all of it inside of his mansion. And so the ability to get some is supply and demand. All right. There wasn't a lot of supply out there, apparently. But anyway, while Combs was 55, he's acknowledged the one episode of violence. This is one that we all saw on tape. Honestly, when I saw that on tape, I wanted to jump through that camera and beat the snot out of that fool. But he was caught on camera. You guys may remember beating his former girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie. But his lawyers say other allegations are false. I would contend this, and again, this is just speculation, and this is why I don't like stuff being played out in the media. Okay, so this is one particular case where he beat his girlfriend. He should have been prosecuted on that. You know what he did? Whatever hotel he was staying at the time, and I forget which hotel it was. Apparently, he paid them off so that they would not release the video. Now, after he was arrested, they went ahead and released the video. I contend that whoever took the payoff should be arrested. Maybe they didn't break a crime, especially in LA, because I believe it was in LA. All right. So again, the jury selection began earlier in the week. It's possible that Diddy could serve decades in prison on charges that include racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting people across state lines to engage in prostitution. Combs faces a possible, again, sentence of decades in prison, and the investigation only followed the lawsuit by his ex girlfriend Cassie. So dozens have come out and alleged that what happened to Cassie, apparently, both men and women have alleged in lawsuits that Combs abused them. Now, here's the problem. If Combs abused you, and this may be true, this may not be true, this is what you should do. And for anyone that may be in the listening audience, if you ever endure any type of physical or sexual abuse, what I know it's hard to do. A lot of people don't want to go through it, and they fear they might be they won't be believed. A lot of people feel dirty. You have to go to the police. If you find someone that's dismissive, perhaps you ask for a detective or someone else in the station, but you have to report the crime because you don't want criminals out there that'll end up doing the same thing to someone else. And this isn't to I don't want to condemn anybody that may have experienced any type of abuse and they just were scared to do so, or they were afraid that nothing would come of it. Some people just that's the way they handle bad situations like that. They just wanted to be gone, and I completely get that. But if anything ever happens to you in that regard, make sure you do your best to try to get these people. And honestly, it's not easy. I understand. It's hard being in a courtroom. It's hard dealing with a law enforcement when it comes to issues like this and dealing with the attorneys. But if you endure that, please call out, go get some help. But these people allege that Combs abused them. See, this is this is information that I don't think should be out there. God forbid something happened to these people. I I hope it didn't. Maybe it did, and I feel bad for them. But here's the reason why this shouldn't be. This trial will highlight the claims of four women. So you've just told me that dozens of men and women have alleged in lawsuits that Combs abused them, but the trial is going to highlight four women. If the trial is going to highlight four women, those are the women that we should be focused on, and no one else. One of them is Cassie, who filed a lawsuit in late 2023 saying that Combs had subjected her to years of abuse, including beatings and rape after they met in 2005. And obviously, we saw the video, absolutely disgusting. I'll have to hear more when it comes to these allegations. She's going to be a witness. And so obviously this is going to be another trial of the century, so to speak. All right. So her lawsuit, Cassie, which offered the first public account of the so-called freak-offs described in the indictment, was settled in a day. But 4 months later, the federal investigators raided Combs' homes in L.A. We all remember watching that on the news, and Miami, and confronted him at a private airport in Florida. They seized 96 electronic devices. They also found three AR-15 style rifles, which I would have no problem with, except that the serials were defaced on those particular firearms. Now, Combs has been held in a federal jail in Brooklyn after the judges ruled that he would be a threat to intimidate witnesses and victims if released. All right. So there was a 17-page indictment. That 17-page indictment accuses Combs of using employees of his business endeavors, including record labels. Listen to this: a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits company, a marketing agency, a television network, and media company to facilitate his crimes through acts that included kidnapping, arson, and bribery. If they can prove that, that is horrendous. If they can prove that, who else knew the alcoholic spirits company? Did he have business partners that were involved in this? I don't know. I don't know. Prosecutors plan to show the jurors travel records or show the jurors travel records, text messages, emails, hotel records, and videos to supplement the testimony and support their claims about what they call freak off activity. All right. So jurors will also see the video, the security camera footage that you may have seen already, showing Combs punching, kicking, and then dragging Cassie in the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel in 2016. I I don't know what to think. I got to be honest with you guys. Um, so there was a payout to Cassie, and she alleges rape and abuse. And again, we will hear the evidence on this. I don't understand why she didn't go after him criminally sooner. And I'm not, maybe it's just based on what I said. Some people just deal with this type of torture and torment in a different way. But anyway, Carl Jackson Show. We'll wrap this up on the other side. We'll be back. All right, let me just search you real quickly here. Wow, this is embarrassing. I'm just looking through. By the way, if you're tuning in, please follow me all things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook. Love to hear from you. Respond to as many of you as I possibly can, and I love doing so and enjoy doing so. And I appreciate any of you tuning in that may be listening. Um, sorry. I'm just, wow. Okay. So I do want to make sure that I play a couple video clips. Okay. All right. So now, all right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. X, Instagram, and Facebook. Please follow me at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. We're talking about the Diddy trial, and I'm trying to make a case that I believe these high-profile cases are destroying or ruining our justice system. I believe they cause people to have a level of expectations inside of the courtroom, what should happen, what shouldn't happen, rather than relying on testimony, whether and testimony and evidence. I believe that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. I mean, I get hot, don't get me wrong, when it comes to some of these illegals and some of the crimes that are being committed. However, in the American justice system, when it comes to everyday citizen Americans that are committing crimes, I believe, listen, that I believe the rule of law is extremely important. I believe that our court system is extremely important, but I also believe that understanding our court system is important. Let me give you one more example, because I talked about Gabby Petito, I talked about O.J. Simpson briefly. Another one that comes to mind is Casey Anthony. I'm not sure if you guys remember the case of Casey Anthony. Gabe, you remember that case, I'm sure, because you're a Floridian like I am. But Casey Anthony, that was a huge case here in Florida, but it was a huge case nationwide as well. And Casey Anthony basically, allegedly, went out to party. I don't even recall the entire story anymore, but went out to party or something with her boyfriend or without her boyfriend, or anyway, and allegedly put covered her daughter's mouth, used some type of toxin to either put her daughter to sleep and or kill her. But most people believed that she probably tried to use a toxin to put her daughter to sleep long enough where she could go out and party like a rock star, and ended up killing her daughter. But it couldn't be proven in the court of law. And I got to tell you guys, I was a lone ranger on this, and sometimes I was scared to speak out. And let me just say this, and perhaps that'll help me make the case here. I believe, going back to Casey Anthony, my belief was that Casey Anthony killed her daughter. Another belief of mine regarding that case was that Casey Anthony should be let go. Carl, you are a demon. How could you say that? No, in the name of Jesus, I'm not. Um, but I say that because if you've been through the system, you understand, or at least you hope you understand how the system is supposed to work. I believe that Casey Anthony is going to get her comeuppance when she meets Jesus. But as for the law, as for the court system, you are supposed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt if someone committed a crime or not. Violent, non-violent, whatever, beyond a reasonable doubt. If there's any doubt, you don't convict. If it's a lot of cases are clear cut, not a lot of ambiguity. Sometimes there's ambiguity, um, but there may be, some things don't make sense. Some people may decide to convict based on, hey, this person said they were here, but they weren't here. We find out in the courtroom, and there was a dead body here, and this person happened to be nearby at the same time. And even if you don't see anything, you can surmise that, okay, this person said they were here. Come to find out, their phone was pinging near the body. Chances are they know this person. They had something to do with it, right? So that stuff happens, and that's fine. But every person should be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that a person is guilty, or frankly, if a person is innocent. And going back to that case, I remember saying, I think she did it, but the prosecution did not prove it. The burden was on the prosecution to prove the case against Casey Anthony And I think they swung for the fences. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if they were going for first degree murder, death penalty. Um, and it was just the attorney that they were claiming, I forget the guy's name, a Spanish guy. They were claiming that he was a B-rated attorney. Well, he ran circles around the prosecution. I mean, he mopped the floor with them. He did a good job, you know. And I remember a lot of people couldn't stand him, and I completely get it. But I was like, you know what? I think she did it. Prosecution hasn't proved anything yet. And now we've gotten to a point where we're just playing these cases out in the media. And you can there and I used to watch it all the time, court TV. I used to watch that incessantly. There was a period of time where I went through a custody battle for my daughter, long drawn out custody battle, and I was obsessed with court TV. But the difference is you would only see these people in court. These weren't cases that you would read about and see out in the ether and stuff like that. But even then, I wondered how much it might dilute a jury pool if anybody was watching and sharing that information. But nonetheless, you get back to this guy. And again, I'm not throwing shade at Cassie at all. Please do not misunderstand me. This lady allegedly endured a decade of abuse. I wish she had had the strength to come out sooner. And I wish it wasn't just a lawsuit. I wish when she had been beaten, she had gone straight to the cops to press charges to say this is what happened, because potentially someone else could have been injured. And again, victims deal with stuff differently. But I'm also intrigued by the fact that first there was a lawsuit, 4 months later, there was a federal investigation. It takes a lot federal investigation. I'd imagine they want a solid case, and they believe they have a solid case against Combs. There's no doubt about it. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens. So after the video aired on CNN, according to Breitbart, Combs apologized, saying, quote, "I take full responsibilities for my actions in that video. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now." Nobody believed that. I didn't believe that. I'm sorry. You took responsibility. No, you didn't. You got caught, and everybody knew it. And it was so obvious. His defense is saying that the freak offs were all consensual. So again, that is going to be his argument. And I gotta say, I'm looking forward to seeing perhaps this trial, or seeing this trial and seeing what witnesses have to say, because there's going to have to be some damning evidence to go against this narrative from the defense that all of these freak offs were consensual. And then he better hope to God that there were no underage people involved. Combs's attorney, a guy by the name of Mark Agnifilo, I hope I didn't butcher that, said at a bail hearing that Combs wrote, quote, a very large check a very large check, quote unquote, to Cassie after she filed her lawsuit. The lawyer said the payout motivated others to come forward with false claims. So Agnifilo said Combs was, quote, not a perfect person, and that there had been drug use and toxic relationships, but he said the rapper was undergoing therapy before his arrest. But I don't know if that was after he got caught. He said Cassie and Combs were in a 10-year relationship that was, quote, very loving at times, quote unquote, and sometimes chose to bring a third person into their intimacy. I don't know if she was forced to do that. I don't know if she volunteered to do that. That's some of the information that will be coming out. Don't do that. Don't do that. That was their thing. The defense said it was a sought after special part of their relationship, basically threesomes, swingers. That's one of the arguments that I've been hearing. The trial is not Combs' first. Obviously, in 2001, he was acquitted of bringing an illegal handgun into a crowded Manhattan dance club where 3 people were wounded by gunfire. A rapper in Combs' entourage, Jamal Barrow, who performed under the name Shine, was convicted in the shooting and served nearly 9 years in prison. Okay, so all right, so it doesn't sound like Combs was, and he was acquitted in bringing. Okay, so he brought the gun into the crowded Manhattan dance club. Okay, all right. So anyway, so that's the story on Combs. And listen, I'm going to be watching as much of this trial as I can. I know this is a somewhat different topic for tonight, but it is one of these things that I'm always bothered by. I remember when the Gabby Petito thing blew up, and I believe at the time I was sitting in for Larry Elder, And even as bad as it was, I was like, you know what? This case should not be. It was just everywhere. It was everywhere. And obviously, it ended on a sad note. And obviously, the guy turned out, her ex turned out to be, or actually, it wasn't her ex, sadly. Her boyfriend that murdered her turned out to be the murderer and confessed to it, obviously, in a note before committing suicide himself. But I just thought if this thing were to go to trial, our court system is this: you are innocent until proven guilty. But the more that these trials are displayed on social media, on television, played in the court of public opinion, I believe you're in danger of being guilty until proven innocent. And it doesn't just stop with these high profile cases. That's going to filter down to lower cases. Some people deserve to be in jail. Some people deserve to walk free. Some people deserve the death penalty. Some people deserve to live. But bottom line, we all deserve a fair and just justice system. And I contend that it's cases like these high profile cases, that are ruining it for the rest of us. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.